This is an interview. It's all about property management. I'm here with Jo Akhgar. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jo in a second. I'll tell you a bit about me first. My name's Ettan. I'm the owner of Elite Heating and Plumbing. I'm the founder of the Help Me Fix video chat maintenance platform. I am speaking to stars in the property business, influencers, people that make a difference, and one of them is Jo. Jo is the host of Property Jam, which is an amazing podcast. I've been listening to it all day, all week. I keep giggling in the kitchen. My wife thinks I'm going insane. A professional property investor and a professional property landlord. So not someone that just does it with a couple, but she does it for a living, so she knows exactly what she's doing. I'm speaking to people about the property maintenance process, how it works, talking about landlords, contractors, agents, trying to find out the pain points really behind it. And the reason is that I do this for a living, or I have done. So my background is as a contractor, plumbing and heating specifically, but sort of a main contractor as well. Like we subcontract electrical work and drainage work and so on and so forth. And our businesses, our customers are primarily business to business. So we work for landlords and through agents. Okay. So I'm in that position where I watch it all happen. And I've kind of been on a little bit of a journey recently, and as part of that journey I've been finding out more about landlords and how they feel. One of the main things that I've found is that landlords are often in a position of fear when it comes to dealing with these things, because firstly they haven't got all of the information, and secondly they kind of feel like they're being ripped off by everyone around them and struggling in the middle. So I'm just going to say a little bit about you before we kick off with the questions. Jo, in fact, do you want to tell me about how you started out and where you're at now and what you do kind of on a day-to-day basis?
Oh God, right, let's sit back, relax, here we go. There's quite a few hats that I wear, and this is the first hat that I've got on. The second hat that I wear is professional property investor, as you said. So I started in property back in 2015. And it was all because I went to a seminar and, I was thinking about, my financial future and all of that stuff. And I was in debt and didn't have, a clue about property. I never bought a property in my life.
That's interesting.
Sort of fell into it, really. And I just thought being in property meant owning your own home. Completely no differently now. And so for me, it was all about just setting myself up for the future and making sure my family were protected. So I kind of fell in it. Went down the education route, came out the other side a professional, but it lit something in me. And since I've gone on that journey, it's just led off into all sorts of other things. So I've been a network host, I've done obviously the podcast. So I'll list my hats. Property investor. I also teach property professionally to a diploma level. I'm a public speaker, and it kind of links the two, it's sort of property and education together, because you just end up doing the speaker circuit, and probably one of the reasons why I'm here as well.
That's how I found you.
Totally. And then podcaster as well. So I mentioned Property Jam, that I co-host with Niall and Matt, two stinky boys in property as well. And lastly, I'm a performance coach. So one of the things we're probably going to end up talking about heaps actually, because I think it links massively to what your mission is all about how you show up in property, the people that you connect with, and the connections that you make as human beings, not necessarily about the bricks and mortar. So I coach people in and around how they perform to the best of their ability as property investors.
So it's a people business, right?
Oh God, yeah.
So I think, it is all about people, and it's all about trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I for instance, in my neck of the woods as a contractor, I'm like the untrusted. So yes. I know how it feels. I'm the enemy kind of thing. Yes. I know how it is. And putting myself in a position of a landlord, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what really drew me to you is the human side of property. That's why I wanted to speak to you. Obviously I've spoken to different people that have different roles, but the fact that your podcast is about the human side of property really drew me to you. I know from stalking you that you use managing agents
yes.
to manage your properties.
Yes.
Firstly, how do you find an agent? And I know you've spoken about this before.
You listened to the letting agents episode.
I did listen to the letting agents. I have the background. How do you find an agent? What makes a good agent?
Yeah.
And how does that work for you with your property?
Right. First and foremost, when you're researching a new area and you're thinking about investing there for the first time, for me, it's not about going up and visiting that place. It's all about the connections that you make on the phone initially, especially if it's further afield, right? So when I was looking at Lincoln, for example, when I was moving into the higher income generating strategies like houses in multiple occupation, the first person I'm ever going to phone is going to be the letting agents within that city or that town. So normally a city when it comes to shared housing. So for me, it's first and foremost, if you Google letting agent in that city and they are the first one to come up, you know they've spent money on that advert, therefore they're taking their business seriously.
They've got some dough.
Listen, they've got money. I mean, even if they don't, like they're sort of, you know, speculating to accumulate, and I trust that. You know, that means that they're really investing in their business. Second of all, like, I'll give you an example. So when I was researching Lincoln, I must have spoken to about 10 or 15 different letting agents, and obviously everyone has their own version of the market, right? You know, what kind of tenant market they specialise in, and then over time you thread together the truth. But one of the person that stood out for me the most was the chosen letting agent I went with because of the amount of time they gave me on the phone. And it wasn't necessarily about just the bread and butter of their business. They were interested in me as an investor. They were on my side. And they saw me as not a bad person. They were really interested. They're also an investor themselves, which I like because you're speaking the same language, right?
Yeah.
So, and they basically just told me everything. It was just full disclosure. They knew the stats on their business. They knew the market. They cared about their tenants. You know, they really, really were amazing.
That's a good agent. That is a good agent.
So good. I mean, I literally just took some biscuits up, and the first time I went to Lincoln, that person was the first person I'm going to go and sit with. 2 hours I spent in that reception, just chatting and getting under the skin of the market. It's
so difficult to find, and from my point of view as well. So we are so weird. We are like completely opposite sides of the coin, which is why this is so exciting for me. I work for an agent that is amazing. I'm not going to name drop, but that they know who they are.
That's really sweet. It's like you know who you are.
And I have worked with them for about 3 years, and they care. Like, they actually care.
Yeah.
They care about us, they care about their landlords, and they care about their tenants.
Yeah.
That is really rare.
Yeah.
I spoke to someone day before yesterday, who was talking about it's only a tenant, that mentality, and she called her tenants her customers, and I thought that was quite interesting as well. So finding so you've answered my question. So it was all about rapport, and it was a people thing, and so on and so forth. And do you say that you trust your managing agents?
Oh my God, like with my life actually.
Okay.
Because not just from the rental market perspective, it's everything. And I know our conversation is going to touch on this massively. It's the maintenance of the properties, right? Because when I'm doing a big refurb, my letting agent is an integral part of my renovation because they're thinking about it from multiple angles. The end user, so who's actually going to be physically in that space, and the demand and the price point and the rental rates and all of that good stuff. But also they're thinking about it from like a property maintenance perspective. Like, don't put that in the property because you're just going to have to fix it every single year.
Problems, yeah.
Right, and all of that stuff. So thinking about that ahead of time from their experience and leveraging that expertise is why your letting agent, when it comes to renovation and thinking about the market that you're targeting, is so important.
Okay, all right. So the trust is, you have to have the trust for it to work.
100%. Because I need to know that if something goes. So for example, I had a bunch of students. Poor things. Fire alarm. I was having problems with this one particular fire alarm panel. Kept going off. Like the sounder kept going off at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Don't know why. I just did.
I had that myself. Yeah.
And they're all like drunk. You know, you can imagine like all these students coming home like, hey, having a good old time. Barricaded under a kitchen table. I don't want to be getting that phone call, but I know that Harry, my agent, he is going to be there in a heartbeat, and I trust that he's going to handle it without having to bother me about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's important.
Yeah.
So that's important.